Hi, my name is Wallace and I am one of the pattern developers here at Seamwork. Today we're refilming issue number 4 of Ask the Pattern Team. Due to some technical difficulties last week, the time that we filmed this live, we lost that footage. So now we're reshooting it, and so this time it'll be the exact same information, it just won't be filmed live. So today we're talking about quilting cottons for garments. Over the last 4 years that I've worked here, I've consistently gotten the question from a lot of customers, I want to be able to use quilting cotton. What patterns of yours do you recommend that I use? So today we're going to be talking all about quilting cotton, not just the patterns that you use, but also why would you use it, things like that. So to start out, why use quilting cottons for garments? I know that this is a very controversial topic within the home sewing community. So a lot of people ask, why would I want to use quilting cotton? Isn't that just for quilts? Well, the thing is that quilting cotton is extremely easy to work with. It does really well with pressing. It holds a press extremely well. It's very forgiving with the heat temperatures. So if you accidentally set your iron on really high, it's most likely not going to completely ruin your fabric like a lot of apparel fabrics will. It is also very easy to cut. It's not going to slide around on your cutting table. It's not going to slide around too much while you're actually sewing it. So the amount of pinning that you'll have to do when you're sewing 2 pieces of fabric together is much more minimal than with a lot of apparel weight fabrics. It also comes in a ton of really cute and fun fabrics. I know that pretty much anytime you walk into any kind of fabric store, there's going to be tons and tons of quilting cottons, and they always come in really cute and fun prints. A lot of times they're bright colors. So I understand the appeal as well from an accessibility standpoint, because pretty much any store you go into will have them. I do want to have everyone keep in mind though that not all quilting cottons are created equal. If you go into any big box store, which I won't name any names, but a lot of those quilting cottons are not as good of quality. They're going to be a lot thicker. They're not going to drape as well. They're also probably going to be much itchier against your skin. As a general rule of thumb, I highly recommend that you always wash and dry your quilting cottons before you do anything with them. And the other nice thing about quilting cotton is that it will hold up very well over time, because since it's such a structured fabric, you can wash it multiple times and it will hold up in the wash. It's also very easy to care for as far as duration and how long your garment will last. It's not a super temperamental fabric once it's been sewn up into a garment. So just keep in mind too, when you're trying to choose a design to sew up your quilting cotton, and that quilting cottons tend to be a lot crisper than apparel fabric. It's typically not very soft. It has a much stiffer drape than a lot of apparel fabrics, and it's going to work best for garments that are a little looser and have a much more structured silhouette. You're also going to have to iron it pretty frequently, which isn't, in my opinion, it's not a huge deal. I actually have a steamer at home that I usually steam my quilting cotton garments with really quickly in the morning, so that way I don't have to get out my ironing board and set it all up. So that's another option as well. Also, quilting cotton typically looks good in more casual designs, just because it does have a little bit more like cutesy feel. So I recommend making it in more casual designs rather than something more formal. And again, just don't forget to pre-shrink your fabric. Very, very important for quilting cottons. So I'm just going to show you an example first. So some of my favorite brands of quilting cottons are things like either cotton and steel, like the zinnia skirt that I'm wearing now, or this zinnia skirt was sewn in an art gallery quilting cotton. These brands typically, especially Art Gallery, their quilting cotton is much lighter weight. It almost feels like a shirting. So that will also help with garment sewing. So one of the reasons I really like making skirts in quilting cotton is because just in general, I like the silhouette it creates. It creates a much more A-line shape than if you were to sew most of these designs in an apparel weight fabric that is much drapier. So if that's your desired silhouette, I recommend quilting cotton. And another thing to keep in mind is that closures are typically much easier to install on quilting cottons. So here, this design has an invisible zipper. Invisible zippers are so much easier on a quilting cotton. I typically don't have to use like I think it's like the Wonder Tape or whatever it's called. I typically don't have to use that at all on quilting cottons. I just use a couple of pins on each side, possibly mark, where my waistband is to line it up evenly, and that's pretty much it. It's really easy other than that. It also does really well. There's pleats in this design that have top stitching on top of them, and you don't really have to be as delicate with those as you would if you were using something like a rayon or a chiffon. So that is also much easier to do. Skirts a lot of times have pockets in them, and you don't have to worry about your pockets fraying around like the edges, like you would with some apparel weights. Your pockets are going to hold up really well over time. So this is the zinnia once again. Pretty much most of the same principles apply to, this is the Seamwork Jenna skirt. Has pockets, has an A-line silhouette if you make it in a quilting cotton. This skirt, rather than pleats, has gathering, which I think also works really well in quilting cotton. Whenever you're doing your gathering stitches, it's really easy to make the gathering stay exactly where you want it, because again, quilting cotton is not going to slip and slide around. So it gathers pretty well in my opinion. And also it is really easy to install a gathered waistband in the back with quilting cotton. So next we're going to move on to dresses. So for dresses, I highly recommend choosing something that has a looser silhouette once again. Just one of the things you want to keep in mind for if you're going to make a dress out of a quilting cotton is I recommend either lining it or wearing a slip underneath if it's going to be like a fall or winter garment, just because otherwise quilting cotton does have a tendency to stick to tights or leggings, so you don't want it to stick to your leggings and then eventually it'll rag up a little at a time, and it does get kind of annoying to have to keep pulling it back down all day. So one of the first ones we're going to talk about is Laurel. Once again, for the reasons I mentioned, it's it's simple design, simple silhouette. Another thing to keep in mind is that darts are really easy to press with quilting cotton, so much easier than a rayon that you have to worry about the heat settings and possibly damaging your fabric, making it really shiny. Laurel has quite a few darts. It has 2 bust darts in the front, and then it also has fisheye darts in the back. But again, if you make this in a quilting cotton, it's going to be so much easier. It's also, in my opinion, way easier to do things like bias binding and bias facing in a quilting cotton as well, because you can put it on a really high temperature and steam setting, and it's not going to damage your fabric. So once again, Laurel comes in a shirt version and some dress versions as well. And for all the same reasons I mentioned, I also recommend the Colette Sorbetto. This is actually a free pattern, so you don't even have to be a member of Seamwork. Anybody can go on and download this pattern for free. I think all you have to do is just sign up with your email. So again, has darts. It's a very structured, more boxy silhouette. There are several different versions of this shirt as well. And it's really easy to eliminate the pleat, but the pleat does press really nicely in any kind of a quilting cotton. And then, so this dress we're going to talk about is the Seamwork Sonia. Once again, structured silhouette, has pockets. The pockets will be really easy to sew as well if you use something like a quilting cotton that's easier to work with. Again, an invisible zipper in the back, darts, everything should press up really nicely. And there's several different versions of this dress as well. There's a sleeveless version, and then we have a lot of different sleeve cuff variations as well, and those all should be much easier to sew in a quilting cotton. Okay, so next we're going to talk about some collared shirt options. So I recommend quilting cottons for collared shirts because your collar is going to press really nicely and it's going to lay really nicely as well. The quilting cotton is going to help it keep its shape. It's also really easy to apply interfacing to quilting cotton. Again, you can put it on a high heat setting and it's very forgiving. And a lot of times collared shirts or dresses are much more structured garments and they hang away from the body a little bit. They're a little looser fit, so they work really well. So I'm going to show you some examples of that. So this is the Natalie shirt from Seamwork. Again, it has a structured collar, has buttons. Buttons are also very easy to do, or buttonhole installation is very easy to do on quilting cottons again, because you can mark your fabric and it's not going to slip and slide around when you're using your buttonhole foot. So again, this is a looser, more structured garment. So this would look really cute in a fun print, kind of like this shirt. And so quilting cotton gives you a lot of options for things like that. The next example I'm going to show you is the Colette penny. So this dress has a lot of great design details in it that I think work really well with quilting cotton. One of those is the gathering. Like I mentioned before, I think it's pretty easy to gather with a quilting cotton. Again, the buttons, pockets are going to be easier to sew on. Same with your cuff as well as your collar, like I mentioned before. This dress also has pockets, which I know a lot of people are big fans of. One of my favorite seamwork patterns is the Addison. This is one that I sewed recently, and again, this quilting cotton is from Art Gallery, so it drapes a little bit nicer than a really stiff, scratchy one would. This fabric is also pretty soft for quilting cotton. So one of the things that I also can recommend that you can do with like scraps of quilting cotton or something like that is consider doing your facings or your linings for garments like this, especially if you're running low on fabric, which is exactly what happened to me. I had to use a different quilting cotton for my facings on the inside, but that's a good way to use up scraps, and it also is kind of a fun little, it could be a fun little pop of color or pattern or something like that. So then it's exciting to put on those garments that you made. Another popular colored garment is the Colette Hawthorne. This is a little bit older pattern, but still a great pattern. I think that this silhouette looks really great, like the skirt silhouette itself looks really great in a quilting cotton, and the color is gonna press really nicely, gonna stay really crisp. And again, if you do like bias facings or something like that, it's going to be much easier in a quilting cotton. Again, another older pattern from Colette. This is Lily. It has kind of a collar detail here as well as the same kind of detail on the pockets. This is a pretty structured silhouette as well. And there's an invisible zipper in the back as well. Again, much easier to sew. There's a lot of seams on this design as well, so you're going to be doing a lot of pressing, but it would look really good in a quilting cotton. So this is a Seamwork Amber. I wanted to pull this sample because this is the regular version that we would normally offer for sale on the site. And this version I probably would not recommend in a quilting cotton. I think all of these gathered tiers on the bottom would probably get extremely poofy in a quilting cotton, but I wanted to show you that if you are a Seamwork member, you get exclusive access to bonus pieces, and this is the bonus of the Seamwork Amber, which I think would look really good in a quilting cotton. We recently had the frock tails in Portland, and I actually saw someone last year wear a quilting cotton version of this amber bonus to frock tails, and it was super cute, and it laid really nicely. So I highly recommend this version of the Seamwork amber in a quilting cotton. Again, it has pockets, has a back zip, and has darts that will press really nicely. So I also wanted to mention that afterwards in the comments below, I will be posting all of my recommendations. There are a lot of recommendations that I have to give for our entire pattern library for Colette, as well as Seamwork, that we didn't necessarily have samples for in office. So yeah, I want to encourage everybody to try sewing something out of quilting cotton. Have you tried sewing a garment out of quilting cotton, or do you leave it just for quilts? I also wanted to let everyone know that one of our September garments I actually sewed up in a quilting cotton, and if you are a member of the Seamwork community, you'll be able to see that shortly, or I guess in about a week and a half, we'll post our sneak peek. So then you'll be able to go on to the Seamwork community and see what garment I made out of quilting cotton. So yeah, be sure to sign up for Seamwork. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and turn on our post notifications by clicking the bell above. And if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you.